Hello and welcome back to Investing for Generations, your channel for high quality stock research for long-term value investor. And today I want to talk about big news of Intel. Lately I made some videos about Intel and explained why I added to my current position. And these days, 2 days ago, big news came in because the Intel stock surges as activist Daniel Loeb pushes it to explore deals. So, according by this article of Barron's from December 29th, Intel shares cored a bit in Tuesday's trading after news emerged that activist investor Daniel Loeb of Third Point had acquired a significant stake in the chipmaker and was pushing it to explore strategic alternatives. Shares were up as much as 5.7% in afternoon trading at the 29th after Reuters reported that Loeb's hedge fund has nearly $1 billion stake in the $200 billion company. Loeb, who recently pushed for Walt Disney to focus more on its streaming platform and permanently suspend its dividend, is urging Intel to hire an investment advisor to help the chipmaker determine if it should remain an integrated device manufacturer and if it should divest some of its recent acquisitions. So that's basically the news. Daniel Loeb and his Third Point hedge fund just invested lately in Intel with a stake of $1 billion. That's the news. And with that, they want to make some pressure on Intel just to move on. And we will see how this will work out. But this is big news because 1 billion stake in the company, of course, is a big thing. Even if is 1 billion of 200 billion is only 0.5%. And so in my other videos about Intel, you find, first of all, a deeper analysis of the whole business. I go through the financial numbers of Intel and then just explain why I bought into Intel in first place. And then also in the other videos, you find some information about the quarterly earnings, the recent drops, and what I think about. So feel free to check this out. You find all of that on my channel. And in these videos, of course, I also mentioned the problems Intel have lately with a delayed processor, even with the losing of market shares. But then I also give you my opinion why I think Intel is still a great business. So check this out. And for Third Point, for the hedge fund Third Point, with the mentioned 1 billion stake, it would be the biggest position in their portfolio. You see here all their companies in the portfolio, and with a 1 billion stake in Intel, Intel would be the biggest position. And since this 13F filing here is from the September 30th, Third Point just bought in lately. We will see how this will work out, but of course, if a big hedge fund like Third Point make Intel to their biggest position, this is of course in news, and so I wanted to bring this to you. And for me, really nothing changes. Even in my first video about Intel, I calculated the intrinsic value and came then to an intrinsic value of $78. And now I found another Excel sheet for calculate the intrinsic value. When I watched a video of the very great Sven Carlin, I will put a link to his channel here in my description, and also I will put a link to the Excel sheet. You can download that for free. I will also put that in the description here. And really, I recommend look for Sven Carlin. He's the best YouTuber in investing, in long-term value investing on YouTube, in my opinion. And when we use this sheet to calculate the intrinsic value, I want to go through this with you. And first of all, to calculate an intrinsic value, we need, in this case, their earnings per share. And for Intel, that's $5.09 in the trailing 12 months. And you can find this information very easily on macro trends. There you find for almost every company, for almost every business, all the relevant numbers. And here, for example, we have the earnings per share of Intel for the last years. For the trailing 12 months, we come to $5.09. And the next thing we need to calculate an intrinsic value is the growth rate or the estimate growth rate. I look most of the time for on Zacks, also a great website to get information about almost every business. And here we find an estimate growth rate for the next 5 years of 7.5% for Intel. And so since we can't put in 7.5%, I put in the 7% for the next 5 years, and then maybe a little bit slower from the year 6 to 10 with 5%. Then we need the discount rate of 12%. This is my personal discount rate. The discount rate is just your expected return. It's just what you expect to get from an investment. And then we need the terminal multiply. This is nothing else than the PE ratio. And also the PE ratio for the past you can find easily on macro trends. And right now we have a PE ratio of 9.58, and in average over the last, let's say, 5 to 10 years, the PE ratio was around 10 to 15. And so for my calculation here, I put a terminal multiply of 12. When you calculate this here in the first box, then you come to an intrinsic value of $72.52 in a normal case scenario. Then we calculate a best case scenario. And for the best case scenario, of course, the starting point is still the $5.09 of earnings per share. And then I put a growth rate for the next 5 years of 10%. You see, a little bit more than in the normal case scenario, and growth rate for the years 5 to 10 of 7%. The discount rate is just the same, and the terminal multiply, because it's a best case scenario, I would say maybe 20. This is not super high, but maybe higher than the average in the last decade. And when we calculate that, we come to an intrinsic value of $113.63. And then last but not least, we also try to figure out a worst case scenario. Starting point is the same with $5.09 of earnings per share, but the growth rate sinks to 5% in the first 5 years and then to 3%. And the terminal multiply would be even lower than now, with 8, which is really low, I would say. But okay, it's a worst case scenario, so it should be. And then we come to an intrinsic value overall of $54.33. And now we have 3 scenarios. And of course, nobody can look in the future. Nobody knows what will happen. It's just what is likely and what not. And so here we can say the probability. And I would say the chances for the normal case scenario is at least 60%. So we put here in 0.6. And I would say for the best case scenario and also for the worst case scenario, maybe 20% each. And then we come to an intrinsic value of $77.11. And of course, this is a guess. I mean, what else? This is a guess, but this is the best we can do. And it just like also Warren Buffett said, it's better to be approximately right than precisely wrong. And that's all the thing with the calculation of the intrinsic value. You will be never totally right, but at least you're maybe roughly right. And so this calculation is almost the same like I did in my first analysis of Intel. So back then I calculated an intrinsic value of $78. And so it seems like maybe somewhere there we are. And so with the current price of $48.75, Intel is traded almost 40% under the intrinsic value. And this big undervaluation I just used for myself over the last few weeks to buy more and more shares of Intel on at different times. You see here the green dots is just when I bought my shares of Intel, and you see I bought around $50, and even lately when it dropped again to around $46. And so overall now I have 106 shares of Intel with an average price. You see this here is in German, I'm sorry, but you see here the average price of $49.30. And so I'm down a little bit, 0.55%, but this is not a big problem. I'm long-term value investor, so that's fine. Don't worry about that. And by the way, if you're new to my channel, you see here all the companies in my portfolio, in my North American portfolio, and you see there's a lot of green, a lot of gains over the last month. It was a very great year for me, the 2020. And you find a deeper analysis of all of these companies on my channel. There I look into the business model, the management. I looked through all the financial numbers, then calculate the intrinsic value and tell you when and why I bought these companies. So check this out. You find all of that on my channel. And Intel now is the second largest position in my portfolio with 6.36% of my portfolio. And if maybe the price drop again or stay around $50, I will even add more of Intel, maybe up to 10% of my portfolio. We will see what happens. I will not add to every price, but if we stay where we are now or even lower, I will add. And with this portfolio, with this North American portfolio, which I started as a 2nd of December 2019, so a little bit more than a year now, I have a performance of 40.58%, and this is a great outperformance of over 20% to the S&P 500, and I'm very happy with that, and we will see how this will continue in 2021. And if you find any value in this information, and if you want to follow me on this road and see how my portfolio will perform even in the future, then just subscribe to the channel and follow me on this road. I will give you a weekly insight to my real money portfolio, and so you can see how this will work out. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please subscribe to my channel and follow me on my road. And if you really liked the video, please give me a big thumbs up and ring the notification bell to never miss another video, and tell all your friends that here is a community rising of now over 600 people with a view as long-term value investors. And so share this content. I think it's worth, and then we will see you the next time. See you then. Take care. Bye bye.